As already mentioned, the slightest movement in the lights can create a totally different look. Let's take a look at how you can light your subject. The most common setup is the 3-point lighting setup, therefore you need at least 2 lights. The main idea is to place the key light around 45 degrees off your subject and slightly above, so you minimize the shadows from a double chin from your subject. This way you create shadows on the face of your subject, which looks more interesting than frontal light in my opinion. The best way to create a flattering image in this scenario is to use soft light as the key light. If you use a hard light instead, you will get much harder shadows and also the imperfections of the face are more noticeable. To create even more separation from your subject to the background, we use a backlight above and behind the subject and also 45 degrees off. Place it on the shadow side, which is the opposite side as the key light is. Here you can use a hard light that creates more defined lines that separate your subject more, but you can also use a soft light to make the separation more subtle. The last step is to fill out the shadows with the dirt light, so you can control the contrast of your subject. And if you don't have a dirt light, you can do this simply by using a white bounce material and bounce the key light back to the subject. But I like the contrast in my images, so I fill them only when the face is really too dark, to avoid the risk of losing details in the shadows. Also, a variable light from a window or a practical light can be used to replace one of these 3 lights. The following setup is called split light. Therefore, you place the key light 90 degrees off your subject, so the light comes straight from one side. Only one side of the face is lit now. That gives you a very contrasty image. You can use a fill on the opposite side if the contrast is too much for your taste, and a backlight on the shadow side to separate your subject more from the background. It's a very masculine and dramatic look that you can create. Next setup is the paramount lighting. Place the light in front of your subject, raise it above and tilt it down until under the nose from the subject is a shadow that looks like this, which looks like a butterfly. Don't raise it too high, otherwise you get some shadows into the eyes, which we don't want in this case. This technique gives you more shadows on the chins and make a face look slimmer. It's a more feminine looking image. And also here, the backlight can help to separate the subject more from the background. Now if you place the key light at the same position slightly to one side, you become a light pattern that is called loop light, because the shadow from the nose looks like a loop, and it creates on one side of the face a shadow. That helps especially with rounder faces to make the illusion that the face is longer and slimmer. And when we move the key light even more to the side, about 45 degrees until the nose shadow connects with the cheek shadow, we get a very famous lightning pattern, which is called Rembrandt lightning, which we already saw in the first example. You get this as soon as you see a triangle on the cheek. This is a lightning pattern that comes from the art. A painter named Rembrandt had this light pattern in many of his paintings, which created a very unique look and a lot of depth. You will find that in many movies, and for me it's my favorite lightning pattern. The best is when you film it from the far side to get a 3-dimensional looking image. The following lightning pattern is called the checkerboard lightning. Here it's not only about the illumination of the subject, but also about the background. The idea is that the picture has alternating levels of brightness from left to right, namely light to dark and light to dark again, or the other way. This creates an overall very interesting image and can be achieved with different lightning patterns like Rembrandt lightning, split light, and so on. The next pattern is called clamp light. You get this look by placing 2 lights directly in front of your subject. One below your subject and tilted up 45 degrees, and the other above the subject and tilted down 45 degrees. This is great for beauty lighting and creates a little gradient of shadows on the sides of the face. If you place 2 lights in front of your subject slightly to the side, you will get the flat lightning pattern, which gives you no shadows at all and the face looks very flat, but also clean, especially with soft light. Now if you place these 2 lights behind your subject, out of frame, angled around 45 degrees, you will get the badger lightning pattern, which creates a striking shadow. This is a very masculine look, but can be used with women's too, to give a sort of a serious look. Soft light rubs around more than hard light. The next lighting setup is called top-down lighting, which gives very deep shadows into the eyes from the subject. This is often used to show some serious situations in the movie. It removes the eye contact from the audience to the character. A lot of non-verbal communication runs through the eyes, and when we choose to interrupt the eye contact, we unsettle the audience because they don't know anymore how to feel about this character. If the character has a cap or a hood, it strengthens this effect even more. If you want this look but not so extreme, you can place a white surface on the table from the subject that reflects the light back to the face, giving you less contrasty image. And if the top light spills too much, use a skirt or a flag to block the light from spilling to the background. The next setup is exactly the opposite, on the light, which is a very unnatural light because it never happens in the real world. It's often used in horror films to show a villain or something is completely wrong. It makes the audience feel creepy, uneasy or strange. The next one is the backlight setup, which shows only the silhouette of the subject. It's very mysterious. It can be used to show a character in a secret mission. There are different options to do that. It can be only a rim light that shows only one side of a character, or the light can be placed directly behind the subject to create the silhouette. I saw this also in interviews where the person wanted to remain anonymous. If you place it behind and above the subject, it also creates long shadows which can look very interesting. And now to the edge light. This looks the best if you use it in an environment that is not too dark. But here you need only one light. Place it around 45 degrees behind your subject out of frame, which creates only one edge of light on your subject. If you use soft light, it wraps around more on the face, but you can also use hard light if it matches more the vibe that you are looking for. The last setup is more something that you can add to all already mentioned setups. With color light, you can create a lot of color contrast and different stylized shots, which can be useful for music videos or also commercials. A nice trick is to use the diffusion material behind your subject, like here a full white diffusion from Lee filter. Place a light behind it. This way you create the background with a nice color gradient in it. This works with every possible color to a simple white glowing background, which is very useful to create a high key image. Now you have learned a lot of different options to light your subject. Important is that you try it on your own. I recommend to pause right here and try it with a family member or a friend. It works also by yourself. Let's create.